Real and Radiant podcast. My name is Jireh, your host, and oh my goodness, I just came from such an amazing and crazy, but in the best way, weekend ever. Okay, in like a really long time. And I also just got an hour and a half massage before I recorded this. So I got some R&R before recording. R&R. I've been wanting to say something like that for so long. Okay, hi, how are you? So I may sound a little croaky, maybe a little tired, because I'm definitely still recovering from this fantastic weekend, and I'm going to share a little bit about it with you because it actually ties in with today's topic. But because of how crazy it's been this past week, actually, I have not outlined or done anything for Real and Radiant this past week, because usually I outline at least and record by Thursday, and it's definitely Sunday, the night before this episode is supposed to be out. And I was really, as I was running errands and getting my massage, I was like, can I just maybe not? You know, if you feel me, if you're like a content creator, or like you are really intentional in how you post and use social media, you almost just don't want to because you're tired, or you're like, okay, it's fine, it doesn't matter. But in that moment, I really had to make the decision and like recalibrate my thoughts into, no, this is what I really am wanting to commit to. And I want episodes to be consistent every Monday. And so I just feel you out there for those who are, in that rut where you're like, should I not post? And then you end up not. And then you're like, dang, I should have like posted it. I should have made that piece of content. And you just got to push through, right? You just got to push through, move forward. And I know I won't regret this, and actually having a podcast episode out when tomorrow does come. So anyways, that's like the pre-podcast of the podcast. Okay, but one thing that actually helps me kind of push through to record and make new content is the messages I get from you guys, for those who listen to it, who listen to the podcast and have been sharing it. And I wanted to read off one message from a listener, and she said, "Listen to your podcast this morning. It was really great to hear, since I've been feeling discontent with where I am." This is based off of episode 4 on seasons of discontent. And she said, "Also, so brave of you for sharing your struggles online. Proud of you. You're helping a lot of people by being real in a world where people try so hard to project an image. Praying you heal soon also." From My Skin, episode 3. So I was so encouraged, and I actually really liked, and I was so encouraged, actually. She mentioned, being real in a world where people try to project an image, because, being part of having a taste of the fashion industry, obviously the whole job, the whole industry is to project an image. But even in the church, even within ministry, even within the church body and Christians, I feel like we try to project an image, and in a way we do, right? Like we are called to be salt and light of the world, but not to a point where it's fake, and that's not who we really are behind closed doors. And so that's a big reason of why I created this podcast in the first place, and why I've been so so honest in the struggles I've had, because I don't want to project an image that I'm not, and I want to share the struggles and be real, even as a quote unquote Christian, a Christ follower, someone who to other people's eyes, they think we're all just joyful all the time and happy-go-lucky, and we live by this strict set of rules. And no, we go through it too. So I am so thankful. So thank you for all of you for just, really tuning in. And going back, and just this amazing weekend that I had, I was actually invited. So first of all, which is not really I don't think this is the first time I've mentioned it, but I'm a part of my church's women's ministry, and we are not only just our main church. We don't just have our women's ministry in that satellite, but we have satellites nationwide and even across the world, even in Paris and the US. And so I was asked a few weeks ago if I can help train and share social media management and Zoom 101, and how I can, really help train these ladies in these other satellites who are trying to replicate and do what we do in Maine. I'll just call it Maine, and do it in their own satellites too. And so it's so funny because when I was getting all of the information and the details, it was supposed to be only 4 satellites. So it's like the northeast region of the Philippines. And in this hub of satellites, there's only supposed to be 4 that were attending, and virtually. And all of a sudden, the day of, 4 satellites actually became 25 satellites. And we had over 500 participants online too. First of all, I was just surprised. I automatically assumed when she invited me that it was going to be all virtual. And then she was like, oh no, well, it's actually in person for the trainers and the tech team. And we'll pick you up and bring you back to Manila. And I was like, word? Okay. So I was just really, it was just an amazing weekend. And I met the kindest people there. There's a small team, and it's actually one of the that satellite is actually one of the newest ones of our women's ministry. So they're trying to make their way. They're small but really mighty, and it just blows my mind what IT and like the live production team can do. Still, I would just look at all the screens and like the boards. What do you call that? Mixers, and just watch these guys who are actually either like the husbands or the sons of the ladies who are involved with the ministry, which is so cute. And I was just so in awe of just how God has given people such different sets of abilities and skills, to really create and help serve and do things like this for the ministry. So it was so fun. I got to also see my mentor, my spiritual mama there. And she took me around Lingayen. Did I mention this was in Dagupan? Okay. So this whole event was in Dagupan, Pangasinan. Okay. And so she took me around Lingayen. I also do social media for her. So we got to do photo shoots, and then it's so crazy. And then I had a meeting with my second job on one day, and then the following morning after the event, I didn't have to do, but I wanted to do some site visits with my third job's site, or what is it? Distributorship in Pangasinan, since we also have a distributorship in Pangasinan. So it was so jam-packed, and yet and still I was like trying to prepare for my training and what I was going to speak on. So, but nonetheless, it was so wonderful, and I was just so thankful for the opportunity and just the reach that it had. Was incredible, and it was just so unexpected. And of course, we know how it goes in online, trying to make online seminars or events work, but we always hate and try to avoid those technical difficulties. And sure enough, we actually didn't have internet for like a few hours before the event, which is pretty necessary, right? And then actually even during my training, the sound went out for a little bit, and so you can hear all the ladies saying no sound no sound, ma'am. Walang sound. And so, but God really made a way, and those technical difficulties didn't last long either. So praise God. But what I wanted to also share in regards to this event was something that happened just an hour before I was supposed to go on. And so we were going through my slides and making sure everything worked, making sure it was smooth. And I had about 4 pre-recorded video tutorials in some of these slides. And so a big one is a 20-minute long one was just sharing the basics of using canva.com. And so as the video was playing and I say in the pre-recorded video Canva, someone who is, in the room, and I don't think they meant it in any way, to be honest, but someone in the room was just like, Canva? And to me, it was like, I just had all these thoughts that came in my mind of like, yeah, you're just using Canva. Like you're not a Photoshop gal. Yeah, you're just. Don't you want to use something more? I don't know, like high quality or something better than just Canva? That's just basic. That's just, people who like moms and pops who use it for like their small business or something. I don't know. Those are literally all the thoughts that came in my head. And so after he said it, I was like kind of stunned. And I was like, wait, is this imposter syndrome? Is this it? Am I in it? Is this what's happening right now? Because I never really understood what imposter syndrome really was. I've heard it for years now, right? Like, it's just, I think it's something that came from this generation, the millennials. And I never really understood what that meant until this past weekend. And I looked it up because I would, and I Googled it. And it says that, to put it simply, this is from verywellmind.com. They're the first one on the results page, so I think it's legit. But they said, to put it simply, imposter syndrome is the experience of feeling like a phony. You feel as though at any moment you are going to be found out as a fraud, like you don't belong where you are, and you only got there through dumb luck. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt in the moment after he said that. And this is just, like an hour before I'm supposed to go on, right? And all of these thoughts are coming into my mind, and I'm starting to get a little discouraged, and I'm starting to doubt myself. And right there and then, I knew I really had to just pause and really recalibrate my mind. So these are things that I literally told myself in the moment as we're still running through my slides, and even after we were done going through my training, run through, practice run, things I was still telling myself to really shift my mind and my thoughts from being discouraged and doubtful and feeling like a phony to, no, you got this. You are here for a reason. So these are four things that I told myself in that moment. And I hope it helps you when you find yourself drowning in imposter syndrome. And the first one is, God placed you in this position for a reason. He allowed it to happen. It could have been anyone, right? Anyone could have had the position, the job, or the role you have, but God made it so in his own supernatural way that it's you, right? And then the second one was, your skill set is what's required. Before I even got to Pangasinan, I was told that they were asking the ladies from these original 4 satellites what they want to learn. And we actually had a question from a lady who wanted to know how to share your screen in Zoom. And so we are like 2-3 years into this pandemic, and someone's still asking that question. And so more than anything, my heart just went out to her, because I'm sure it's like some tita, and like some, who's just maybe always wanted to learn, but maybe was too shy to ask or just never figured it out. But that is how basic and simple this entire training was supposed to be, to that level. Okay. And which is fine, right? We want to be as helpful to these ladies as much as possible. And so, in regards to that, your skill set is what's required, and Canva is one of the easiest ways to really make and create designs online, right? Like, of course, and I even mentioned this during my training, you can use, if you're comfortable, how, you have experience with Photoshop or any of those really higher end photo editing apps, you can use that. That's totally fine. But I know that with Canva, it's easy to use and it's easy to duplicate. And that's what the point of this whole training was about, was so I can easily share what I learned throughout, my journey so far. And so other ladies in this ministry can replicate it and duplicate it for themselves as well. And one of the easiest tools of doing that in making social media posts is Canva. And I was reminded, okay, so, my set of skills is what fits this demographic. But at the same time, I do want to note, that we should never stop learning and never stop improving our skill set, our talents, especially, what God's given us, what we know we've been blessed with and have the opportunity to bless and serve others with. We should always keep improving that. So, but I really had to just tell myself that this is what's needed. Your skill set and this type of website is what's needed to help further these ladies' abilities. And the third one is you are producing fruit. Fruit, when we talk about fruit in the Bible or as followers of Jesus, fruit equates to results or positive results of something, positive outcomes of something. And so I didn't necessarily think all of this right there and then in that moment, but I realized, our Facebook page, for example, has grown from 1,600 from when I started to serve to almost 17,000 as of today. And it is reached people in over 60 countries. And most importantly, women are being encouraged and motivated to take steps of actions towards, improving themselves, their character, maybe showing love to someone that they didn't know how to exactly. And we try to put it in a really basic, practical application when we make these posts. So, and people might just say, oh, that's just having confidence in yourself. And I like to say it's Godfidence. It goes back to the first point, right? That God knew what he was doing all along when he placed you there in that position, in that role, in that title in the first place. And we're still seeing, growth across all of our social media platforms. And I would never want to fan myself or, shower myself with that. But I always want to just thank God and give God the glory, because I know it's him who's really doing the reach, who's really reaching and touching the hearts of these readers and these women who read these posts. And then the fourth one is thank God for the entire recalibration process that you're doing and the opportunity to be where you're at. For me, for example, it was just the opportunity to travel, right? To even travel to another province. That was I just went to Kalibo, but that was like the first time in a year where I actually went to another province to like have fellowship with others. And we didn't really wear masks. Okay, hold on. We did wear masks. I don't want to get arrested or anything. I don't know. But we did wear masks. But I mean, there was a lot of hugging. There's a lot of laughs. There's a lot of meal times where even after we were done eating, we were still laughing and talking in masks. You know what I mean? So I was just grateful for that opportunity and being surrounded by people who also loved the Lord and had the same vision and wanting to do our best for these ladies for this specific event. And I was just thanking God, for the opportunity and the team that I had the opportunity to work with, not to mention, free travel, free board and lodge, basically free food. Like, oh my word, that's why I'm still like blown away, because it wasn't just the event itself, but it was really the people and our hosts that made it so incredible. And I also thought of 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18, rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And I think for that verse, it's so easy to do that, to rejoice and be thankful in all things when something good happens, right? But I know that I had to really be thankful in that moment, even when he said it. And again, I don't think he said it in any bad way, truly, but I was just, I wanted to be thankful, that I received that comment, no matter whichever way he said it as, but I received it and I was able to process it with the Lord. And instead of reacting, not that I would have, but instead of just dwelling on these thoughts and the training going to blah, I by God's grace still pushed through and made it through the hour and a half that I had to train on. And I didn't want the enemy, especially, to take that joy and to take that peace away from me. And I just kept thanking God for that opportunity. So no matter what others say or what your inner man or inner woman is trying to tell you, really take captive of those thoughts and don't let that seed of doubt or the imposter syndrome grow any further. I love what my church always says to do during these moments, especially if maybe you're having conflict or you are in a fight, or you're in a, what do you call it? You're in a disagreement, or maybe someone hurts you or says something, and they always say to pray as an acronym, PRAY. P is to pause. R, resist your initial reaction. A, ask God to empower you. Ask the Holy Spirit to empower you in that moment. And Y, yield to Him and follow through with how He wants you to react and handle the situation. And I think we can really do this to ourselves when our inner person, our inner man is trying to knock us down and get all these crazy thoughts that aren't even true in the first place. We can really follow this acronym so that those thoughts stop right there and then. They don't grow or develop any further, and that we can securely and confidently move on and do what we need to do, because He's called us to do that. So don't let your inner light dim today, tomorrow, this week, next week, your next event, your next training, your next presentation, no matter what happens, no matter what anyone says. Thank you all for listening. Please rate and review this episode, this podcast, if it helped and encouraged you. And I can't wait to share and talk with you guys again next Monday. So I love you guys. And remember, let's get radiant from the inside out.